to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for attending this evening. We'll open, as usual, with public comment. If anyone has anything that they would like to talk about, discuss. Okay. We also am expecting Orange County legislator Kathy Stiganga for a grant presentation. I know she had a couple that she was working on this evening, so she will probably be by a little bit later. So with that, moving on to the discussion points, our treasurer Leslie will be giving a financial update. The good news, as we've been reporting since we had taken office in early April, and obviously uncovered a lot of different financial situations by previous Mayor Joe Bucko and his trustees, that there was enormous amount of money that was spent for that particular year's budget. And then as the onion was peeled back, there were several other large issues regarding finances with the village. So we took action to remedy that by going to the state. We needed to pass bills. The bills were passed, the governor signed it, and now we're at the point where we actually have been accepted by our bond counsel and the lenders. We are supposed to be closing this Thursday the 5th on a loan that we'll be taking for the next 10 years, as we've described over the last several months, of $4.4 million deficit bonding. So with that, I will turn over to Leslie, and she will outline where we've done.
Not sure if everybody has a PowerPoint that I prepared. The mayor just mentioned my first bullet. On Thursday, we will be closing on the deficit financing ban for $4.4 million. It's a one-year note. At the time of maturity next October, we'll convert that to a 10-year bond. With that deficit financing, the village has to follow strict guidelines with the New York State Comptroller's Office. We will have to submit quarterly budget reports, which will be due 30 days after each quarter. We will also have to prepare quarterly trial balances with the same due date, 30 days after each quarter. And the annual budgets will have to be submitted to the New York State Comptroller's Office 30 days prior to the budget adoption. This ban will have an interest rate of 7.25%. It's high based on our current financial situation. That's going to be for 1 year, so the interest payment that will be due next October will be about $308,000 on the $4.4 million. However, to offset this cost to the residents, the village will be opening an investment account. It is called New York Class, which is a cooperative liquid asset security fund. It's a short-term investment, and it's designated or designed for public sectors. So currently, the interest earning on this will be 5.25%, so that'll offset some of that 7.25% interest expense. So all the interest that's earned on this investment will be used to offset the cost to the village, the residents. The village, as everybody knows, is being audited for the fiscal year end 2020. We are pretty much complete. We're looking to have all the information submitted to the external auditors by the end of this month, and they will proceed and wrap up that audit and issue it to the New York State Comptroller's Office. And then once that audit is done, we will work with getting each subsequent year completed, and everything will be submitted to New York State, so we will be up to date on all our finances. We are on track with our new financial software, Edmunds. We are going to go live on February 1st of 2024, and we will be transitioning the property tax collections and the water and sewer as well, and that will go live on May 1st of 2024. The New York State Comptroller's Office is currently working on a risk assessment analysis of the village. They are reviewing multiple years and will provide a report on their findings once they are complete. And we have a follow-up call with them on Thursday, October 5th. And this month, myself and the mayor will be setting up department head meetings to go over the budget, to start the process for the budget for fiscal year end 2025.
Thank you. The board have any additional comments, questions? To the audience, does anyone have any questions? Michael?
Mike Graziano, a couple of questions. The interest rate, is that a fixed interest rate, 7.25, you said for 1 year?
1 year, yes.
1 year, and you said that, and what does it do after the 1 year? Is it
So once the year's over, it's gonna roll to a 10-year bond. So until that happens, we don't know what the current interest rate's gonna be.
It'll go lower?
Hopefully it'll go lower because all our audits and everything, all our filings will be complete, so we're hoping it's gonna be lower.
Okay, you said the interest was 308,000.
Yes.
What are we paying on principal? It's 10
No
years?
principal, it's just gonna be, we're not paying, it's just an interest payment only, and then the whole 4.4 is gonna be rolled into the bond in 1 year. So we're not gonna make a principal payment.
Okay. When do you make the principal payment?
We'll make it in, so next October, when it converts to a bond,
Yeah.
so it's October of 2024. October of 2025 will be the first principal on the long-term debt. And once we know that, we'll, let everybody know.
Okay. And then the New York class, what are we investing? What do we have to invest?
We're gonna invest this 4.4 million that we're getting. We're
Okay.
gonna put that into an investment fund so it earns,
I got you.
because the current interest rate on banks are,
Right.
1 point something right now. So this is a specifically designated for government, so it's just a better interest rate. Welcome.
Michael, you need to understand though, that 4.4 that's going into that interest account, we're gonna have to draw off of that over the next year. So it's not gonna sit there for a year and collect that. It's gonna be drawn down.
Yeah.
But, hey, if you've got 300,000 in there, it's still interest, which helps defer the, what we're gonna pay on it.
Okay. Anyone else? Any questions? Okay, I think that was it. Okay, so moving on to discussion B for our downtown business parking survey. We had some discussions at a few meetings ago about the possibility or the thoughts of putting meters in our downtown area. We've done some soft analysis and some reviews and surveys on some of the businesses. And at this point, there really is, I want to say, not a lot of interest to do it. They feel it would be more of a harm than anything else. Excuse me. And then through our comprehensive plan process that's going on as well, that committee is also kind of looking at parking and some of the other things. They're also kind of, at the size of our village and the amount of parking we have, that it would be somewhat of a detriment to have parking meters either in our parking lot behind the stores, street parking, and our village lot that's down by the Veterans Park. But with that, our chief has put together a survey. So just to formalize it and have it documented, our downtown businesses are going to get the questionnaire, they can fill it out, send it back so we can have that documentation long term. But I think the entire board, again with the comprehensive plan committee, is also in favor basically of just kind of leaving it as is. We're trying to get our downtown businesses more active, and we don't want to push our shoppers away from our downtown, and we just feel at this point that it would be a hindrance to it and counterproductive. Thank you. Okay, so that'll be going out. We'll discuss that with the chief, and we can move on that fairly quickly. Item C is the help desk software. Susan, do you have any updates on that you'd like to give?
Well, we did go out to 3 different vendors to try and find pricing. The one that we will be putting out a resolution on later on is, I can't even say the name of the company.
Gen X, I think.
Gen X is the short name for it. They came in as most economical. They do not have a lot of bells and whistles, but we don't need a lot of bells and whistles. This is basically gonna replace the incident report that's on our website in here. So when a resident does have an issue such like sidewalks or grass not being cut in an area, they see a potential code violation, rather than it getting pinged out to all the staff, it would be more targeted to the department that needs to get it, as well as we will be able to see online that the task has been completed. If not, we know who to follow up with on whether it was done or not. And this one is only $100 a month. I don't think you're gonna get any cheaper than that.
Yeah, thank you, Susan. I know when we saw that one particular application, we really did like it very much because it's, what's really cool for the residential side of it, or for, you know, anybody who puts an issue into the system, is as things are updated, then you automatically get an email with that update. So if we're talking to Chris and they plan to, you know, go and cut the tree or do whatever it is, if he updates that to say we're doing that this coming Friday at 8 o'clock, that email will go out to you. So it's a lot, it's better, it's on the communication side of things, so we don't have to, potentially what we're doing now is remembering and putting it on a to-do list to follow up and, you know, try to be as responsive to our residents and business people as much as we can. So that'll be a great addition to, you know, our software suite. Okay, any questions from anybody? Okay. Next is the Memorial Park surveillance camera update. Chief, do you have anything you'd like to add?
As you know, we got 3 proposals, but I think we were kind of just waiting to make sure we're in a financial position to
Right.
move forward. So maybe next week we can have another sit down with the 3 vendors and kind of decide where to go.
Yeah, and I think the one vendor that we're really interested in who came in, I think with a good system at a better price at the end of the day. We still wanted to meet with him to go over the technical connectivity points and wiring and what's gonna be needed so we can plan that out. We do have an electrician anytime, said that they, I believe, were donating their time as long as we were able to, and I think that was a commitment they had made, you know, probably the year the flagpole got damaged, so, he's still willing to, do that, so. So we can set up a meeting and get those guys in maybe next week, okay?
Okay.
Great, thank you. And just to add to that, we're talking about the Memorial Park because again, that's where our flagpole was damaged. But we're also planning on expanding it to our other park locations as well, so that, you know, all our parks are gonna be protected, our well houses, et cetera. Just
I was
add
just
that.
saying, Tom, I also want to add so the public knows that Memorial Park, there is also a well pump station,
Right,
so that'll put that under surveillance as well.
right. The other thing, an item E, the grant application or the grant for the police department, UTV and trailer. We finally, after going back and forth with DocuSign documents, we've been approved. So our police department, through the grant and thanking our chief, that we just now, at this point, we need to go out and buy the equipment. And then once we show the receipt, we'll get reimbursed the full amount of the purchase of the UTV and trailer. So the UTV is a little bit bigger than a normal, what we call an ATV. It'll have the ability, kind of like the ones you see with the first aid squads, or you might see on TV football games, something a little bit more robust where you can put a stretcher and equipment and things like that. So, great job, Brian, thank you very much. Update on the pickleball courts over for Vern Allen. We have everything pretty much lined up. Weather-wise, we're not sure if we're gonna make the window to be able to paint the surface, but we are ready, potentially next week to get them in to pave the surface, and we can have the fence company come in and get the fence in. And the people that are currently using it, again, depending on weather and temperatures, they've been bringing their own nets and they've already kind of taped lines on the ground and all that good stuff. So if we have to wait till spring to paint, we'll do that. And also, we're prepared, we also have quotes on the netting and so forth. So we're really ready to go with that and pretty excited. And the one final thing we're looking at down there is the lighting, because we'd like to keep potentially the lights on during the evenings if it's nice outside. Anybody could, go down and use the other part of the surfaced area and or the pickleball courts themselves. And I'd like to thank Mr. Pressure for all the work that he's done on the quotes and making all the follow-up phone calls and everything else. Huh? Pressure, what is that? What we do. Any questions on pickleball?
Yeah, Tom,
Yeah.
I looked at that down there.
The
Yeah, I
lighting.
was asked to go down there and look at it
Okay,
when Chris was, and there's a lot of extensive work has to be done.
okay,
That all the lighting down there is done by Musco Lighting.
okay,
Until someone tells me to continue with Musco, because I worked with them when it was the hockey rink. And also upstairs, there's plans on what they did with the lighting, where it is upstairs. It was up there, and it was quite expensive when we had new bulbs and ballast and stuff done on it.
okay,
You might want to consider going, instead of trying to fix what's there, go with the LEDs, because you're gonna
Yeah.
use less lighting, less fixtures, and there's no bulb replacement.
okay,
I was working with the town of Bloomy Grove down at Mays Field on converting them all over to
okay,
LED.
good, thank you. We'll
Yeah.
have a follow-up and we'll check out the lighting as well.
Chip, Tom?
Yep.
We can also check with NYSERDA to see if we can get any kind of credits for going to LED over standard.
Yeah, I mean, on a broader scope, just talking about LEDs, I've been talking to Orange and Rockland for upgrading all of our street lighting to LEDs, in some parking lot locations too, where we find it to be a little bit dim. So they are working on their side to see how that happens, to replace all your lighting. But I've noticed on 94 that a number of the lights have gone from the old bulb situation to LEDs. So they're in the process. I don't know if maybe a bulb goes out or there's an electrical issue with the arm, that they just go ahead and replace it, so.
I don't believe they'll even let you put those kind of lights in there anymore.
No, they won't. The old ones? No, it's your old LED.
Yeah.
So, we're gonna wait for O&R to get back to us on that, but our plan is to replace everything. Because we spend a fortune on lights, believe it or not. I think it's in the neighborhood of $45,000. It's a lot for street lighting. And if you happen to see a street light out, equally important to call our police department or down here during the day, because you get charged regardless if the light is working or not working. They bill you per telephone pole with the lights. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions on that? No? Okay. Next is paving for Secord and Emerson Drive. That update. So we're still going through our lead survey process that we've described over the last couple of meetings to get Department of Health has mandated that we do these surveys, all the communities do these surveys to see if there's any potential lead piping still in the ground, and if there is, there'll be another plan to get those pipes out of the ground. So before we pave Secord and Emerson, we need to get that survey done. So we'll be following up with the Water and Sewer Department who's coordinating the survey so we can basically figure out who's left that needs to go, and then we'll be knocking on doors because we really want to get those two streets paved this year if possible, weather permitting, of course.
So Tom, just so you know, I called everybody on Emerson and Secord that we had phone numbers for
Okay,
regarding the survey. We have about 24 responses so far out
okay,
of 57 houses. What also happened is Donna and I went diving into the building department records, trying to find out the year they were built based on the survey responses and the year the subdivision was done. We're pretty confident
Right.
that there are none.
right.
But it was fun going through all those files. We call it dumpster diving.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just something that the water department, because their license depends on it. So they have to absolutely know for sure, and we did find a few already. Not there, but in different locations as we're dealing with water meter issues.
Main
Throughout the
Street
village.
has quite a few already.
Yeah. And we are actually, at this point, once we get those surveys updated, we're basically ready to pave, and we'll be doing a resolution tonight to move forward on that. Also, the paving of Ahern Boulevard from North Street to Washington Boulevard. We will be moving forward on that. I'll be signing that agreement tonight through a resolution, and then Chris, is our DPW, Mr. Martino, will go out and reach out to Tilcon and get this scheduled.
We also, Tom, we have to bring the cable over to Memorial Park before they pave.
Yeah, we've talked to Chris, and he's ready, just what we want to do is just get the conduit in the ground.
Yeah.
And until we know what kind of wire is needed, but at least it's, the conduit's there, we don't have to touch the road after it's
So the
paved.
audience knows the cable lines on the other side of Ahern. They're not on the same side as Memorial Park, and we're gonna need cable over there for the cameras. So we don't wanna pave and then have to dig it up to put a cable in.
That's for sure. Any questions on paving? Okay. At our last meeting, someone had a question on North Street and Ahern Boulevard as far as motor vehicle accidents. So we requested from the chief, he gave us a report. So basically going backwards as far as our records or what we have on file, there were 2 accidents in 2019. There was 1 accident in 2020, 1 accident in 2021, 2 accidents in 2022, and as of this date in 23, we've had 2. And usually, for most of the contributing factor, it's been failure to yield the right of way. The one in July we had here in 2023, a child lost his brakes on his bike and entered into the roadway. Otherwise, it's either a car versus a deer or the yielding issues. So I just wanted to bring that to the floor. Someone knows that. Any questions on that?
Yeah, Tom.
Yeah, right.
What happened to the money that was put aside from Rieger Homes for the study for that traffic light?
It was spent.
Was spent on the study, or they spent it on putting lights somewhere?
That I'd have to go and double check, Artie. I don't know.
Because I remember
Yeah, it
that,
was like $75,000.
yeah, something like that, that they had just studied for the light, and that was back when Lenny Curcio was mayor,
It was basically put aside to be used for
the study.
a study down the road. And with that, we've also contacted Department of Transportation through Assemblyman Moore's office that we're looking to do a DOT survey of 94-208. So potentially, you know, we could do that, or just get a car counter, we can get a counter and let the chief kind of monitor traffic controls at that location. I mean, the bad thing is, or the money thing is that it's our responsibility, so
Now it is,
if we get, you know, we'd have to probably try to get a grant to have a light installed if it became that necessary to do. Yeah. So item J, we've been reviewing our phone system because that system is no longer supported. There's no parts available is what we're being told. So we're basically running on a system that if it failed, we're in a lot of trouble. So we've been reaching out to different vendors and just accumulating quotes and trying to merge and see what we can do as far as our dial tones are concerned and put in better technology to reduce the price of our annual or monthly telephone bills. So that's a work in progress, just wanted to mention it to you right now. And the one savings at this point, we'd be saving about $70 a month. Nothing tremendous, but for break even and have support on the system and have the latest and greatest, like a voice over IP system, that, you know, we're not really going out to spend enormous amount of money with no return, so,
And we can actually transfer calls rather than yelling across the room.
yeah.
You got a call online too?
Yeah. So we're with that. Any questions on that at all, anybody? Okay. Letter K, we have finished the grant application for the street sweeper in the amount of $250,000. I received an email the other day saying that we have been approved, so we'll be reimbursed $250,000 for the street sweeper, and we can put that into the bond that we just took out not too long ago to pay down that sweeper. So, just want to mention that. Also, we were contacted by the Washingtonville High School study or student work program. I've asked Christine, our clerk, to touch base with them to see. We've done this on many occasions where students come in, half a day type of a program, finance people, office, whatever environment they're looking for, and they work, it's for free, but they get school credit. So we're working on that as well. Letter M, we have the village historian. We've been advertising that for some period of time. We haven't had anybody really step up, unfortunately. However, there is a state law that's in place that says for a village historian, they need to live within the village limits. However, the state law then also allows you to expand those limits. So the board will be discussing to expand that potentially to the Blooming Grove borders. And we have a couple of folks that are interested, that live in the town, that are interested in becoming the historian. So more work on that, but that's the direction we'll be moving in.
And if I can just say, if anybody out there wants to be the historian, it's a fun job, it doesn't pay, but it's fun. It's not a difficult job. You answer queries from the public. Grandpa died here in 1894, what can you tell me? You're also in charge of the village historical records and memorabilia, which we're very fortunate that there's not a lot here. There's a lot over at Moffett Library, and they have their own collection. So you attend a conference twice a year, which of course the village would pay for. So as somebody who's done a lot with history, it's a cool thing to do if you know anybody who's interested.
Thanks, Susan. Thank you. Okay. So if anybody knows of anybody that would be interested, please let us know. Next item is the Orange County Legislature agenda, on October 5th at 3:30. There are copies of it on the wall over there if anybody's interested on attending any of those meetings. So at this point, I'm going to hold up because I see Kathy Stiganga has arrived. Thank you. And as I mentioned earlier, I was contacted by Kathy a couple of months ago saying that there was a grant available for close to $5,000, right?
Yes.
So we applied, we put the information in, we described what we wanted to do with the money, and we actually, at Taft School, there's those warning signs, that yellow flashing lights. One had broken, had been gone for years, and we're gonna take this money and replace that light that would be on the northbound lane of Tolman by Taft School. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Kat.
Okay, fantastic. So, the legislator, this is a new program that we started. It's very similar to the state member items, but we didn't do anything where it doesn't come out of the taxpayers. This is our way as being on the legislature to give something back to the communities that we represent. So there were certain criteria as far as schools, senior center, parks and recreation. It was just something to make it so that us as legislators were able to bring something back for a need in our local communities. So each town village was allotted up to $5,000. It was actually $4,999. So some of the communities, I think we got 14 out of our 21 legislative districts that put in for it. And hopefully, since this was a successful thing and it came out of our legislative budget, it didn't come out of anything else, and it was something that we were able to do, it gives us a little bit to give back to our communities as far as helping with some of the things that you may not necessarily get a bigger grant for because we know that they're little. So I want to turn this over because I signed for it and I've had it for a week and I don't like carrying around checks that, whatever.
That's great.
So
Thank you.
it's great,
Thank you very
absolutely.
much. Appreciate it so
Yeah, not
much.
a problem. And then start looking for next year's.
Will do.
Thank you.
And I will promptly turn that over to our treasurer for immediate deposit. Okay, now we'll move on to correspondence. There's no resolution required, but lately we've been in communication with Orange County, and we've been having their mobile DMV unit at the Village Hall for the last several months, and it's been really popular and working out very well. So they will be here again on October 19th from 10 to 12, and then 12 to 1 they grab lunch, and 1 to 3:30. So please take advantage of it. The only thing they don't do is written exams. So, yeah, it's really good. And they're normally parked towards the back of the parking lot. I'm sorry?
What we trying to, sorry, everybody, trying to get them to come on a regular basis.
Well,
Wasn't that-
right now, I think the way they're set up, I think they were doing like every other month, because I think the program's catching on. So we've asked to have them here every month. If they could do that, that would be fantastic, because there are lines here, and, you know, it saves you driving either to Orange, you know, to Middletown or anywhere else, Goshen. So it's a great program. So take advantage of it. We'll be moving into our resolutions. The first one will be to authorize the use of Gencore Help Desk software application effective October 1st, 2023 at a monthly user cost of $100. Have a motion, please.
Motion?
Susan, Vernon, second. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Next is a resolution. Yes. A resolution to accept a resignation from Code of Ethics Board Member Jolie Zara effective this date, October 2nd, 2023. A motion?
Motion.
Steve? Second? Second. Donna? Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Resolution, and then every resident will get a copy of it explaining why we are where we are. And, you know, you mentioned the pickleball, so that's coming directly from the Rieger Homes. That's recreation money, and it's
But then we
being,
have the lights.
huh?
Then we have lights.
I know.
We need cameras. We need so much stuff.
This
I
is great,
agree.
and you know what, Kathy, everything you're mentioning is being dealt with through grants. We are applying for more grants than I could tell you.
Okay.
So, you know, at this point, that's the only thing we can do. We're analyzing our departments, and again, when we start at 0, we're gonna be very, very tight on what we're doing. We're darn this money for 10 years. New York State, we should either live in their building or they should live in this building. Because we have to do reports every 3 months. We have to send them everything. You've been reading it, it's no
I get
joke.
that part of it.
It's no joke.
It's a disastrous mess.
Exactly.
But the thing is, everybody's gonna get the water increase, then we're gonna start at 0, and everybody's gonna be like, hey, wait a minute, I missed that, and you know, because we've all been around.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna turn around and be like, oh, well, what happened? Well, what do you mean? I
Well,
don't-
that's why we tell them to call us, and again, the water bill information and that stuff is gonna be in this letter as well. We're gonna explain it.
And all that's public. Anybody has any question, you can FOIL that information. It's not like, you know, we're hiding behind a cloak and daggers here. It's public information. You want to know how much was spent last week? Guess what? You can put in a FOIL request for checks written.
I know that, Susan, but most of the general public doesn't know that. So that's why I'm asking, because I'm around all day long. He knows I'm also on the town board, so I'm asking to make sure that it's put out there. Because I don't want them to turn around and say, oh, you guys didn't this and you guys didn't do that. And when you're trying to clean up or try to compensate for what has happened.
Kathy, you and I though, like you said, we've been around this boat a long time. No matter how much public information we put out there, somebody's gonna look at their tax bill next January, or actually in
But I think that
In March,
a
and
mailer-
say-
the letter will be a great
You know that
thing to
thing,
go out.
if they even read it though, Kath. Like I said, we mailed out 57 letters to Emerson and Seaport for the lead pipe. Till I got on the phone, we had had less than 14 responses.
Lead pipe, they don't have to pay for it, taxes and water charges, they go.
Okay. Now, I mean, we hope we answered your questions. If there's more questions, or you wanna meet one-on-one, or if you've got more to talk about, we're here to listen. It's our, you know, we live here too, we're just telling you what we're seeing. I mean, it's been one heck of a road for 6 months. Yes, sir?
Yeah, a lot of the seniors, and I know, I'm with myself, don't even use the minimum amount of water, that you have to pay the minimum fee, I understand that. So that's a plus, that should be extra, that should have been put in there. Because I don't use that amount of water that I get charged for,
Yeah, I
which
do
is
too.
also my sewer bill.
Right, right. And actually, when we relook at some of these rates that are, you know, I'm just thinking about the seniors and fixed incomes and stuff like that, and if there's anything that we can do to kind of soften that blow. But, you know, they borrowed the 13 million and we got a grant and we're down at 9 point something, but, you know, it's over 30 years. That, you know, and the problem with that, and everything, somebody touched on it already, but the life before you need to do upgrades or fixes is 20 years. So in 20 years, that plant's gonna need work. And you're still gonna be paying this one off for an additional 10 years. So hopefully technology, if it ever gets cheaper or smarter, but that's the boat we're in. And that was my argument in 2017, 2016, and it fell on deaf ears because they needed it. But, and while we're maybe touching on the water and sewer, we've been beating this one up pretty good. You know, the water treatment plant, the wastewater treatment plant, I think we've also been mentioning over many, many meetings, is that a lot of the quarterly reports, the reporting that's supposed to be done between EFC, which is in New York State, and that's where we get our money, and then we get the money, and all these reports are filled out quarterly, et cetera, and then we get reimbursed, and then we pay, you know, the contractors. Well, back in 2020-ish, that whole system stopped. And best we can probably tell is that the village was taking out of its own coffers $1,040,000. And the reason I'm saying that is because when we checked in with EFC and we started to have conversations and they saw us being responsive to emails and questions, they came back and said, you know, you got $1 million sitting up here. What are you doing? I'm like, well, tell me what I need to do and we'll do what we gotta do. So, working with Leslie, working with another auditor, Brandon, and he's got contacts in New York State, which turned out to be fabulous because we finished a portion of the paperwork and we're gonna get a check for $190,000 for our sewer plant. So, you know, that either goes towards the bond or it goes to things that they didn't repair when they did the upgrade. Like the sewer plant roof is leaking. There's systems that should have been installed that were bypassed and not even looked at. So there's a ton of stuff. But the good news is that we're cultivating that, peeling it back, and we're getting money. So, you know, potentially we got another 800,000 to go, and we're not gonna stop until we turn every tree upside down to get that money. Okay, anything else, guys? Okay, so on to the resolution. And this is for the facilities increase. Meeting of the village board, Village of Washingtonville, New York, was convened on October 2nd at 7 p.m. The following resolution was duly offered and seconded. Resolution increasing the facilities charge, whereas from time to time the village board amends and revises fees associated with village services, including water service, and whereas the village board desires to increase the facilities use charge. Now therefore be it resolved, section 1, that the whereas clause as incorporated herein as if set forth full. Section 2, the village board hereby increases the facilities use charge under village water rent services to $58. Section 3, the village mayor and any other village officer employ or consult as directed by the mayor shall take any and all actions necessary to carry out the provisions of this resolution. Section 4, the village clerk is hereby directed to amend the village fee schedule to incorporate the modifications for the facility use charge. Section 5, this resolution shall be effective immediately. Questions of the adoption for the foregoing resolution was duly put to a vote on the roll call, which results as follows. I have a motion.
Motion.
Susan, second. Donna. Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. So resolution 119 is to authorize Mayor Thomas DeVinco to sign a grant for $100,000 multimodal agreement, grant AMA 413.30A. It's a universal multimodal capital project agreement for offsetting the cost for paving Emerson Drive and Secord. Authorizing, so resolution number 119, authorizing the implementation and funding in the first instance of the state modal program aid eligible costs of capital projects of the appropriation fund. Therefore, whereas the project for the reconstruction of Secord Lane from Bull Road to Emerson, Emerson Drive to Bull Road to Tolman, and Secord Lane Culvert, PIN 8MA 413.30A. The project is eligible for funding under New York State Multimodal Program administered by the New York State Transportation Department. Whereas the village desires the advance the project by making a commitment of 100% of the cost to work for the project or a portion thereof. Now therefore the village board duly conveys does hereby resolve that the village board hereby approves the above subject project, and is hereby further resolved that the village board hereby authorizes the village clerk of the village of Washingtonville to pay the first instance 100% of the cost of the design construction phase work for the project or portions hereof, and that it further be resolved that the sum of $100,000 here be appropriated from A 5110.0450 and made available to cover the cost of participation in the above phases of the project, and it served, and it further be resolved that the event of cost of the phases exceed the amount of the appropriation, the village of Washingtonville shall convene as soon as possible to appropriate said excess amount immediate upon the notification by the village thereof and further. Resolved that the mayor be and is hereby authorized to execute all necessary agreements, certificates, reimbursement requests for the multimodal on behalf of the village of Washingtonville, New York State DOT, in connection with the advancement or approval of the project and provided the administration of the project and the municipality first instance of funding for the project and project costs that are not eligible, and is further resolved that a certified copy of the resolution will be filed in the New York State Commission of Transportation by the attachment, and is any necessary agreement in connection with the project, and therefore be it resolved. I have a motion, please.
Motion.
Steve, a second. Any other comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Christine, we'll look up tomorrow to get this email. Thank you.
Thank God for CHIPS money.
Yeah. Next is a resolution to authorize the mayor to sign the rental agreement for the village court photocopier based on a monthly usage payment of $111.82 and a one-time documentation fee of $75. Have a motion, please?
Motion.
Have a second? Donna? Questions, comments? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Next is an resolution 121 authorize a public assembly permit to the Village of Washingtonville Events Committee for Witchingtonville, which will be October 21st, between 11 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. at Vern Allen Park, and Witchingtonville After Dark on October 21st between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. at the Veterans Memorial Park, 29 East Main Street. Have a motion, please?
Motion.
Steve, questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Okay, next is a resolution to approve a special permit for the Rody's Rolling Bar LLC and Park Prosecco regarding serving alcohol beverages at the Witchingtonville After Dark. Apologize, we need to read a few of these. So, the meeting with the village board of the Village of Warrensville, New York was conveyed on October 2nd at 7 p.m. The following resolution was duly offered and seconded by, cover that, right? Whereas the Village of Warrensville conducting a Witchingtonville After Dark event on October 21st, whereas during the event, vendors will be selling alcoholic beverages, and whereas pursuant to Chapter 45 of the Village of Warrensville Village Code, a special permit is required for the Board of Trustees in order to permit consumption of alcohol in certain public areas. And whereas the Rody's Rolling Bar LLC and Park Prosecco have requested a special permit for the village for the purposes of selling alcoholic beverages during the event. And whereas the village board desires to issue a special permit to the vendors during that time of the event. Now for it be it resolved that Section 1, the whereas clause are incorporated herein and set forth in full. Section 2 pursuant to the Section 45-3 of the Village Code, the village board hereby authorizes the issuance of a special permit to the Rody's Bar LLC and Park Prosecco for the October 21st, 2023, from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. for the sale of alcoholic beverages in a public place. Section 3, the special permit is subject to the following conditions. The distribution of alcoholic beverages shall be at the location designated by the village. The vendor shall be required to have any necessary permits from New York State Liquor Authority. For the activity, vendors shall comply with any and all of the restrictions and requirements imposed by the State Liquor Authority in conjunction with the issuance of the permit. For the area where the service consumption and any alcoholic beverages shall be clearly defined and marked off, and access in such areas shall be limited to persons age of 21 and older. Vendors shall comply with and all directives. Mayor of the village and members of the Washingtonville Police Department. 6 vendors shall be subject to any of all the requirements of the village code and village special permit requirements. Section 4, pursuant to the special permit, the vendors shall be authorized to conduct setup and breakdown activities before and after the Witchingtonville event. Section 5, the mayor and other village officers, employee consultants as directed by the mayor shall take any and all actions necessary to carry out the provisions of the resolution. Section 6, the resolution shall be effective immediately. The question on adoption of foregoing resolution was duly put to a vote on a roll, which is as follows. Do we have a motion? Vernon. Second.
Second.
Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. This is from the earlier conversations. I would suggest the resolution of 123 to approve Tilcon proposal and contract for the reclamation and paving of Avon Boulevard from North Street to Washington Boulevard at a price not to exceed $162,355. Motion? Vernon, second.
Second.
Donna? Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Next is a resolution for 123. This is for the approval of Tilcon and contract for the reclamation, I'm sorry, it's the wrong one. 124, to approve the Tilcon proposal and contract for the reclamation and paving of Emerson Drive and Secord at a price not to exceed $194,485. Motion?
Motion.
Steve, second.
Second.
Snuck in there. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Resolution 125, resolved that the village board, Village of Washingtonville, hereby authorizes the village treasurer to add New York class as an official depository effective immediately. And as discussed, this is for a better interest rate at 5%, which is great. Motion?
Motion.
Steve on the motion, second. Any other questions? All in favor? Perfect, thank you. Next is resolution 126 to declare Woodfield Waste Pump Station repair an emergency situation. Authorize Joe the plumber to proceed with the installation of the pumps and controls that the village has in hand as an estimated cost of $25,000. Have a motion? Steve, second.
Second.
This is, let me just give you a quick update on this one. So back in '21, when we had the Hurricane Ida, when we lost the Bull Ridge Bridge and there were some other infrastructure issues, this pump station was supposed to be updated with newer pump technology. For whatever reason, when we got in, there was a bill due to the contractor, or actually the supply house, who gave us, or not gave, but we paid for the pumps and some other electrical control type parts. There was some other things that were necessary, but the village did not pay for it. So the equipment sat at the sewer plant from '21 until now. We were just waiting on some pricing or a quote from, getting 3 quotes from some contractors, when over the weekend or in the beginning of the week, middle of last week, one of the pumps failed. It got bound up with rags and everything else, from sewer system, and the propeller basically jammed and the motor burnt out. So we're in the process of replacing that, but we're doing it under an emergency situation, because there's 2 pumps there, so we're running on half a leg at the moment, so we're trying to get that repaired as quickly as possible. Any questions? We have that, okay, those comments, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes, thank you very much. Engineer. Next is our resolution 127. It's an abstract. It's just to authorize the budget transfers and amendments as necessary to effect necessary transfers of funds and to pay warrants and our bills. Have a motion, please?
Motion.
Second? All right. Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes by a vote. You can pay a couple bills. So we're at the portion of public comment again, for, again, anything that's on your mind.
So
Just don't ask me about the Giants tonight. I have no
just
idea
out of
what they're doing.
curiosity,
I'm sorry?
and just out of curiosity, as a resident,
Yeah.
and as a village board,
I'm sorry, would you please state your name and address, please?
I don't remember at the time,
Okay. At this time?
at this time,
Maybe later.
maybe later. So as a village resident and as a village board, I've lived here for 30 some odd years, maybe a little bit longer. We have refinancing of a ban for $2 million, which is gonna cost each homeowner roughly, and I'm gonna throw rough numbers, $250. Now we're gonna borrow $4.4 million, that we're gonna pay interest on. Interest is $408,000 for the 1 year, so say that's another $150 per household. Next year it's gonna be due. At what point does this village turn around and say, you know what? We're gonna raise village taxes to each homeowner by 200, 500, 1,000, whatever it is. Where do we stop? Where is it unfair to residents?
That's a good question for everybody. You tell me. You guys elected us, we report to you. If people say stop, then we stop.
So I know you go on and put on Facebook that we're in a hole, money was spent, we need to borrow money. People don't go on Facebook, okay?
Mhm.
Maybe people don't, but even today, I went on village board early this morning, okay? I know stuff that goes on. I went on village board, there was nothing on the village website saying that we are definitely closing on this loan on Thursday, okay?
That's why we're
Up
talking
until-
about it tonight, right?
Okay. You have
And
30,
it's on
you have
it's on
30
YouTube,
residents here.
And it's gonna be in the letter
Okay,
going to the
but I'm
residents.
just saying,
Yeah, I know.
when the budget time comes, people don't know. You have all new people that have moved up here from the city. They have no idea of what goes on.
So what do you suggest? I'm open.
I don't know, but I'll come up with something and think of something.
Okay?
Because
I'm-
we
I'm-
need to,
Open
because
arms.
as a
We
resident,
knock on doors.
I want to
we do.
retire, okay?
So, yeah.
And if my taxes go up to the point where I can't, I'm not gonna be happy. And I'm gonna be very honest with you.
You know
So
what?
I'm looking for help, I'm looking for answers.
I'm disgusted over the whole thing, so, understand that.
No,
okay?
I do.
You know?
But as a
We live
resident, I'm
here,
very,
I
as
gotta
a
go home
resident,
and ponder this stuff 24 hours a
I know
day,
you, I know that.
trying to make this village whole. If the residents decided at some point that, you know what, I can't do it anymore, that's up to you. That's up to the residents, because it takes a village, it takes a vote, it's a process and a half, but it's a process. And, I know everybody loves how this community feels, what they do. They love their police, they love their DPW, they love their parks, they love all that stuff. And trust me, it pains me to sit here with these guys and go through this every single day, to have to sit here and try to explain it when we basically got thrown in a dumpster.
And
That's
I-
what I feel like.
And I understand that, and I
So-
understand the board, and I know.
And I'm not
Okay.
crying by any shape, now trust me.
I'm just saying, at what point does a resident turn around, okay? Whether you're a newlywed or whether you are, lived here your entire life and you're in your 80s, okay? At what point do we turn around and say, this is becoming unbearable, that I can't survive to live here anymore?
That's a personal choice.
And
That's a personal decision for every resident. We're in that same position.
And I understand that, but there has to be some kind of solution or something, not to make my taxes. I'm in a condo, okay? My daughter lives in Brooklyn. I don't want to move. I want to die here, okay? That's my goal. But if you make my village tax go from double, I can't afford it, okay? And I'm not lying. I don't want to move to Florida and be 17 hours away from my daughter.
We're doing everything that we need to do.
And I
to get out of
understand
the
that.
debt that we're in and recreate where we should be.
But you understand
I
my
do.
that
We're feeling
it's
it.
not fair to us as residents
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's not.
that we have to pay for
So tell
past
me-
errors.
Jeannie, tell me what you want.
That's not my name.
Oh, Fred, tell me what you want, Fred. Tell
I
me.
don't know, I have to, I'm speaking out loud, okay, as a whole board here,
Yeah.
as a resident,
I hear you.
okay? And do I have a solution? No. Can I talk and think about it for a few days?
Sure.
Yeah. But I, at a public meeting, am saying, as a resident, I am deathly afraid. Okay, I'm deathly afraid of my mortgage company saying, oh, by the way, is there a solution? Maybe not. Maybe my taxes have to go up 75%. Okay, maybe they do. But again,
Yeah.
and I'm asking the residents that are here, who have the same feeling or concerns about with me,
Yeah.
let's
So,
think.
email, talk, discuss it, and figure it out.
Okay.
You know,
We talked about cutting earlier, you know, I wanted to ask you
I
earlier.
know that we don't know, because I looked
I
at the
know.
budget, I know all
I
that stuff.
understand,
It's just, it's a lot to take in as a resident,
I
you know?
couldn't agree more,
I
but if
I
you
know
have
that you guys
suggestions
live
on
here
where to
too,
cut, tell
but it
us.
just seems like there's no end to the hole that we were put in, and it's frustrating.
There will be an end, it's not in the near future. We will get back on our feet slowly, it's a progression.
Yeah, but at what,
The year, the
at
loan
what,
is 10 years,
at
we know
what,
we're.
okay, but yeah, but then you have that long, and now we're gonna have budget, and budget, we have to raise our taxes by 10% come, and I'm just making up numbers, come March. Where do we draw the line? Where do we say enough? It's not fair. We wanna keep our residents here. We have a good bunch of residents here. I'm pointing to residents who are here residents. But where do we draw the line and say enough?
Everybody complains when taxes go up, understood. But nobody complained the last 6 years when taxes didn't go up.
Oh, I did.
And that's why
I
we're in
complained
this
every
position.
single day, that's probably why the pump wasn't down
I
my
was
block.
very vocal on that.
that's a good
Spoke,
point.
Okay.
you would be a rare few, understood, right?
And understand it.
We were the same, that's why we're sitting here.
Yeah.
We were there. In
And we knew
disagreement,
it, because the last couple of budget meetings that we attended,
the writing was on the wall.
it was right there.
But, and I understand that, and I understand we're in a deep, deep hole. But if we are in a deep, deep hole, and every year the prices go up, and pensions go up, and health benefits go up, and raises go up, and cost of machinery, and gas, and insurance, and we're never gonna get out of that hole.
Now you know why he doesn't sleep at night.
Listen, you'll get
There's plenty of nights I don't sleep
potentially
either.
out of the hole to the point because of what we just have to do, right? So we have to borrow the 4.4 to get us out of the hole, and then the conversation about the budget and what we need to do with increasing taxes. And trust me, at the end of the day, I hope this room is filled 10 times. I'll move it to middle school, I don't care. But, you know, we're moving along trying to, I guess at this point, keep us alive and keep this village what it is. You know, we're trying hard with the comprehensive plan and trying to do everything we can to present what everybody loves about this village. So, you know, but if anybody in this room changes their mind and they want to start talking about something else, then that's, you know, the conversation we have.
So I think, what are you calling yourself, Fred tonight?
Yes, Fred.
I'm in the same boat as you. I'm looking to retire, which means my income will be a third of what it is now. As we all know, retirement, your income goes down. We are making small steps. We got the $275,000 grant. That's a reimbursement for a $1.2 million bond that was put out, that included that sweeper. We already have a sweeper, it's been paid
I
for.
understand that, Susan, I understand grants, and I get all of it, I've been in this field for 24 years, I get it, okay? It doesn't, you don't need to explain it to me, you can explain it to the residents, I get it. I'm just asking as a resident, okay? Grants, great, okay? Whatever money you can find, great, it helps us as taxpayers. I'm asking, as a resident, where do we draw the line? Because is it fair for her, okay, she's not a village resident, but for her, who's paying $2,000 a year now in village tax, to be raised up to $4,000? Where do we draw the line, is what I'm asking. And do I have a solution? No. I'm here voicing my personal opinion of where do we go? What do we do? And yes, maybe as residents, we need to talk. Maybe everybody's gonna say, I don't care, raise my taxes to $10,000 a year, I'm gonna, because I love it. Okay, but I'm concerned as a resident.
And like I said, we hear your concern, because we're in that same boat. I don't, just like you, I don't have a solution other than to get our books balanced, and then we can start examining. Right now, we're looking at everything we're paying out. We got rid of, I mean, you wanna talk about getting down to nickel and dimes, and little freaking mats that were in the hallway, we got rid of just to save a couple bucks. All right, we are looking at every bill that comes in and saying, what can we do cheaper? There are contracts that we have been tied into that we cannot get out of. Perfect example is the contract for the water and sewer maintenance company. That is $325,000, and we are locked into them till at least 2025, maybe 2028, because we can't make heads or tails of the contract.
Because that contract was signed prior to us just coming into office.
I know that.
Why? What's the rush? Let the new people
I know
coming
there's-
in
I know
resolve it.
there's things that were done, I know there's no going back, it is what it is. Okay, but again, if I take my personal life and say, oh crap, I ran up my credit card and I'm $10,000 in debt, but I don't have that much money coming in, at what point, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's
So
economics, I get it.
I'm not attacking,
Listen,
I am not attacking, because I understand, I am just as a resident asking.
Yep.
Okay, you wanna throw it in our laps as residents? Okay, I have no problem with that.
No one's
Okay,
throwing
I'm very
it.
good
It
at
is
this.
to me, listen, it's simple. Like I said, we represent you, you guys put us in these seats. We'll do what you wanna do.
Okay.
Simple. It's not that hard. We're not fighting you to keep the village alive if people don't want the village to be alive.
Okay,
Dave,
thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you, Fred.
My name is David Dunn, One Lincoln Drive. I agree with what the lady's saying away, but I retired back in 1958. My pension is what I got in 1958, no increases. Okay? The biggest problem is, the people in the village don't come to the meetings and get involved to see what's going on. They just let things go along as it is, and nobody wants to pay any attention. Then when the shit hits the fan, then they all say, oh, what happened?
Right.
And this is what we had now. You had a group there that was doing what they wanted. When you come in and want to talk, you got a certain amount of time and then that's it. They wouldn't let you talk no more. Even when you get your question answered, that was tough. You ran out of time. I think you guys are doing a great job, but you inherited a bill. And like you say, it's a contract. It's gotta be paid one way or the other. I hate to see my taxes going up because I say my income hasn't changed since '58, so.
Right.
uh,
I think
But
there
I
are a lot of
think
us in this room.
people
that
have
are
to get
either
more involved in
on the
what's
verge
going
of
on in
getting
this
there,
village.
or we're already there. So, yeah, I get it. I get it, Dave. Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Marty?
Tom, what's going on with 61 East Main Street?
Nothing?
Nothing,
Nothing?
nothing.
So
We're in
is
a-
there a planning
Every
board?
project before the board is subject to the moratorium, whether there's no grandfathering in. So we revised the
We
moratorium
revised the
language.
moratorium.
So any application that was before the board, whether it was prior to October of '22 or not, is subject to the moratorium. When the moratorium is lifted, the changes that will be made with the comp committee, with the zoning, they will be subject to those changes then as well.
Well, the question was asked was, when they put the first building moratorium on or whatever,
Yes,
they said that project and another project
That's
was
correct.
exempt from
they
that.
did, and we changed that.
You checked, the new board changed it.
Actually, there's 4 projects already, not
There
just
are
those
4.
2.
Well,
Yeah.
whatever,
There are
4 projects, whatever.
Yep.
But now,
Every
every
application.
project, now every applicant, and I'm not in favor of who's doing what, but every applicant paid all this money to develop their land,
Yes, they did.
and now they can't.
But Art, you know what? When they start to move forward with an application, they knew what the zoning codes were. You know, it's at their risk. There was a risk, right? When you propose a project that requires variances, that's a risk.
No guarantee.
Any other questions? Okay.
Long answer on that one.
So with that, we do have a need for executive session for this evening to discuss contracts. So with that, could I have a motion to move into executive session? Do I have a second, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all very much for coming. Thank you.
I don't blame you. You don't have no vibrating?
I'm not even friends with them.